to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast, the most listened to daily Miami Dolphins podcast on the internet.
Miami's got the Dolphins, the greatest of all.
Come on, Dolphins fans. Time to fins up.
We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl. Cause we're the Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one. Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one.
Good evening, Miami Dolphins fans. How are you today? And thank you for listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast on this Friday evening, March the 14th. I am your host, Mike Oliva, flying solo today as the Miami Dolphins made another signing on Friday. They added a front office executive, and I'm going to give out some report card grades here on the signings and re-signings that Miami has made thus far. And I promise on today's show, we're not going to talk about Liam Eichenberg again. I said everything I had to say on last night's show with Douglas Do Wrong. If you want to hear that regarding Liam Eichenberg, no Liam Eichenberg talk on today's show. It is what it is at this point. Before we get to today's show, though, a shout out to the sponsor of today's show, Caneswear. Everyone go to caneswear.com. That's correct. The website, caneswear.com, for the very best Miami Dolphins merchandise and apparel on the internet. If you need a hat, a polo, a hoodie, a jacket, a tank top, a t-shirt, or whatever, if you need a fleece, if you need a blanket for the Miami Dolphins, caneswear.com is the place you want to go. If you don't live in the United States, they ship internationally, so you don't have to worry about that. Plus, if you're looking for something for the Miami Hurricanes, Florida Panthers, Miami Marlins, and Miami Heat, they got you covered there as well. But really, if you're watching this podcast, you're a fan of the Dolphins, and caneswear.com is the spot. You want to get all your Miami Dolphins clothing and apparel, go to caneswear.com. They are the best. Also, Dolphins Talk Extra, we got a lot going on. We got two contests here on at the same time. First contest, go to patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. Just sign up for $3 a month. You are automatically entered into a contest to win a Tyreek Hill mini bobblehead doll. That's right. Just sign up for $3 and you'll get all the extra podcasts, bonus podcasts about the Dolphins. We also have podcasts about pro wrestling, the NBA, Major League Baseball, reality television, just television in general, music. We have a bunch of shows, but also you have a private message board where you can just talk to other Dolphins Talk Extra subscribers. But if you just sign up, $3, you have a chance. And this is rare. They only made 144 of these. Very rare, never been opened, mitten box, all that. Then we have a March Madness contest. And Sunday night when they make the brackets, only for Dolphins Talk Extra subscribers. So sign up again, $3, you're in that contest, and then you can fill out your bracket, and whoever wins the bracket contest wins this Tyreek Hill full-size bobblehead doll, mitten box, never opened, very rare. I think only like 170 of these are made, something like that. Not that many. And this one is for Tua Tagovailoa, full-size bobblehead doll. So sign up right now for Dolphins Talk Extra, patreon.com/Dolphins Talk, all the bonus podcasts, the private message board, and you have a chance to win cool prizes like this, literally just for signing up. That's all you got to do. All right, let's get to the news of the day. First bit of news. It was announced the contract for offensive lineman Larry Borum, who signed with the Dolphins this week from the Chicago Bears. Some think he's an offensive tackle. Some think he's a guard. We're going to find out soon enough. His contract is 1 year, $2.5 million, fully guaranteed. So they paid a backup offensive lineman $2.5 million. We'll see. Well, I shouldn't say he's a backup. I guess he could win a starting guard spot for those who think he is going to play guard, and he will compete for a starter's job there. But I still think he is taking the role of Kendall Lamb and will be the backup swing tackle. We'll see, but they gave him $2.5 million for 1 year. So again, one of these 1 year deals that they pretty much passed out a lot this week, with the exception of like Nick Westbrook, Kinney, he got a 2 year deal. Was that it? He might be the only one, actually. Oh, no, James Daniels as well got a 2 year deal. So most of these guys are just working on 1 year prove it deals. So that's what Larry Borum got. Front office news. Remember last month, Reggie McKenzie left a senior advisor role, senior scout role. I forget the exact title, senior executive role, really, in Miami's front office under Chris Grier. He took pretty much the same job with the Tennessee Titans. I guess he's from the state of Tennessee, and he feels it's a more secure job. Obviously, in Miami, a lot of uncertainty. What's going on with Mike McDaniel, Chris Grier beyond this year? I don't think there's uncertainty, but most people think there's uncertainty. Tennessee, pretty much everything's new. New GM, head coach relatively new, a lot of stability. So Reggie McKenzie left. Miami filled that spot today when they hired Champ Kelly away from the Las Vegas Raiders in a senior personnel executive role working with pro and college scouting. Champ Kelly, he's interviewed for a few general manager positions this year alone, including, I know, one with Jacksonville, and I think a few others. I don't have those teams, though, as well as like in the past year or two as well. He's interviewed for a few general manager roles. He hasn't gotten it, but now he comes to Miami and will be working under Chris Grier. I want to say this because as soon as this news broke, there was a ton of speculation online. You know, Stephen Ross is getting ready to fire Chris Grier after this year if things don't work out. This is going to be his replacement, blah, blah, blah. Timeout. Number one, if you think Stephen Ross is hiring Champ Kelly and even knows who he is, who is a front office executive with the Raiders, you just haven't been paying attention. Most likely, Chris Grier made this hiring, and this is Chris Grier hiring someone. Now, if you tell me after this year, Chris Grier, if whether it's a great year or if it's a bad year or anything in between, that Chris Grier is going to go into a senior advisor role or a VP role in the front office and no longer be the GM, it has Chris Grier found the guy who he wants to be the next Miami Dolphins general manager? Absolutely. I could buy that 100% because there was that rumor in January that came out, I think from Albert Breer, but don't hold me to that. It might have been someone else that, you know, there was rumors Chris Grier might step down as GM and go into a senior advisor role or like a VP role. And then, you know, in that role, he's going to handpick his general manager, which is why when so many fans say Chris Grier's on a hot seat, I go, no, he's not, because he knows if they want him out as a GM, he can most likely go into an advisor role and still get a paycheck with the Dolphins. And newsflash, spoiler alert, he's probably going to handpick the next GM. Okay, so if you're telling me Champ Kelly's here to be groomed as a next general manager, yeah, that wouldn't shock me. But for now, he's the senior personnel executive with pro and college scouting, and Chris Grier is entrenched as a general manager. I wouldn't read much into this, but I know a lot of fans did. A lot, and I wouldn't right now. The Miami Dolphins also signed a player on Friday. Tight end Pharaoh Brown to a one-year deal. 30-year-old tight end who went undrafted in 2017. He's played for a lot of teams. Played for Cleveland, Seattle, New England, Oakland, Indianapolis, and Houston. Last year, he was with Seattle. In total, he's played in 87 NFL games. He started 54. Last season in Seattle, he played in 15 games, and he started 7. And in 7 games, he only had 8 receptions for 65 yards. See, that's low for a guy who played in 15 games and started 7. That's because Pharaoh Brown is primarily a blocker. He is not a threat in the passing game. Pharaoh Brown essentially is a replacement for Durham Smythe, and he has been brought in to essentially compete with Julian Hill for the backup tight end position. This is a guy, though, who is a very good inline blocker and will help Miami's running game because he can block better than Smythe did. And hopefully if he can block without having penalties called on him, then he should be better than Julian Hill. Dante Colonelli, who writes for us here at DolphinsTalk.com, who did some research in the dive after the signing, said Pharaoh Brown had 263 total snaps last year in 15 games. Out of those 263 snaps, 154 of them were running plays. If this guy's on the field, they're running the football. It's going to be a tell because that's his strength. He is a run-blocking tight end, and that's it. And if you look at the last 4 seasons, how many receptions he's had? 7, 5, 13, 8. He is not a threat in the passing game. He is not going to be out there running routes, getting downfield. He is a last resort check down if he catches any balls. And he's just out there to help Miami run. And with their offensive line, which it is what it is, I'm not going to talk about that tonight. They need help with tight ends who can block in the running game. Clearly, So Farrell Brown is here, and I like the signing. Look, it's a 1-year deal. I don't have the numbers. I'm sure it's going to be not a lot of money, but he's a guy who's going to get out there and hopefully help this Miami running game. Okay, before I get to the free agency grades, a quick shout out to everyone listening and watching at finheaven.com. Everyone go to finheaven.com, the largest Miami Dolphins message board on the internet. Also, a shout out to our friends at the I Am a Miami Dolphins fan Facebook page, run by the great and talented Carlos Hernandez. If you're on Facebook, please be sure you are part of the I Am a Miami Dolphins fan Facebook page. And wherever you're listening to this podcast, whether it's Apple Podcast, Spotify, Podbean, Podchaser, iHeartRadio, Audible, or one of the other 100 platforms are on, subscribe to the channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, smash that like button. Smash it right now. Take a second, smash the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel. We've had shows every day this week. I got pretty much a full slate of shows next week with some special guests. I know Josh and Aaron, they had an issue this week, so they couldn't record. They're probably going to be back next week with a show. And we got you covered with the Dolphins free agency. I know that first wave is kind of over, but there's still a lot of guys out there to be signed. Miami doesn't have much money, but I still think they're going to be looking, once again, for these 1-year cheap deals on not guys that are going to move the needle, not big name guys, but they're going to keep adding players. And once we get through that, we're going to head right into the draft. And myself and Dante Colinelli are going to have our draft preview shows, and I'm going to have some other shows with some other guests regarding the draft. You're not going to want to miss an episode of this podcast. If you're a Dolphins fan, this podcast has been nominated for not one, but 2 sports podcast awards, national awards. We're up against, Ocho Cinco and Shannon Sharp, the Mina Kimes Show. Two sports podcast awards. We cover the Dolphins like no one else, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And again, on YouTube, smash that like button. Okay, let's get to some free agency grades. I'll do the offensive players first, then I'll do the players on defense, and I'll give the overall grade at the end. Number 1, James Daniels, offensive lineman from Pittsburgh. I gave this signing a B. This grade would be higher if he wasn't coming off an Achilles injury. And I'm assuming he's healthy by week 1. And if he is, he's a plug-and-play guy at right guard. He's a new starting right guard, and you don't have to worry. He's an above-average pass blocker, and he's an above-average run blocker. The grade would be higher, though, but the Achilles injury, let's hope there's no setbacks. Otherwise, we're back to square one with the offensive line. Larry Borum, I gave this signing a C-. I believe he's here to replace Kendall Lamb. Others think he's here to compete for a starting guard position. The fact that we don't know is why it's a C- grade. As an offensive tackle, he really isn't even as good as Kendall Lamb. As a guard, nothing special. $2.5 million, fully guaranteed. Miami probably could have used that money somewhere else more wisely, but they signed Larry Borum. It's a C-. I'm sorry. Liam Eichenberg, it's an F. I'm not going to say anything more. That's just an F grade. We all know why. Moving on. Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. I gave this a B+. Highest grade I've passed out. I like this signing the best because I think he's going to make an immediate impact for the Dolphins as their number 3 wide receiver in 2025. He has height. He has big play ability, and he's the perfect complement to Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. This guy, as a number 3 receiver, will enhance this offense day 1. Best signing they made so far. The signing they made today, tight end, Farrell Brown. I give it a C. He's most likely Miami's 3rd tight end only because his coaching staff has some crazy love with Julian Hill that they just can't get over. He gives you nothing as a receiver. That's why it's a C. But as an inline blocker, above average, and that's fine, but he's just a limited player, hence the C grade. Alexander Madison, I gave it a C+. I like this signing more than most people, I believe, but I think there were more talented running backs out there on the open market who Miami could have got for about the same amount of money. But it's an okay signing at the end of the day. He has a lot of experience, which is key, because that's what Miami needs. Because after Devon Achane, they don't have any running back with experience. Jalen Wright, we all hope is good. We all want to be good. We all like. Zero experience, really. He played so little last year. So Alexander Madison and his experience is a help to that running back room. C+, it's a good signing, but can't go higher than that because I think they could have probably gotten someone a little bit better with the money they paid him. Zach Wilson. Quarterback, I give it a C. The most controversial signing of the week. I don't hate the move. And in fact, I fully support it. With that said, I do understand the inherent risk here with the signing. Wilson hasn't been good. And what Miami is paying for is potential and upside. Sean Payton said glowing things about him from his time with the Broncos, as well as people who played with him and who covered the team in Denver. He has a natural talent and he has physical gifts you just can't teach or learn. If he can understand Miami's offense and the light bulb does go off, he can be an above average backup quarterback. He has real game experience and he played in high stress situations with the weight of the world on him being the number 2 overall pick in the number 1 media market in New York City. Backing up Tua should be a walk in the park for him if he's forced to play. But I have to give it a C because I do understand the inherent risk. We haven't seen him take that next step in real games. So I give him a C, but this has the potential to be a much higher grade in time if he does get on the field and play. Tyrell Dodson gets a B. This is the feel good signing of the offseason. Someone who came in Miami middle of last year, busted his butt the last 8 games of the season, and who earned this contract. He's a very likable player who is easy to root for. He may start in Miami in 2025, but I think even if he's not a starter, he's going to see a lot of playing time this year. So Tyrell Dodson gets a B. KJ Britt, linebacker they signed away from Tampa Bay. To me, I give it a C+. He is a younger version of Elandon Roberts, who spent time in Miami a few years back at linebacker. You do not want KJ Britt in pass coverage because he is an old school 1980s run-thumping linebacker. He wants to be on the line of scrimmage and play the run. That's where his strength is. Not good in pass coverage, hence the C+ grade. And what I do like, though, is that he's younger and he's more durable than Anthony Walker. So it made sense to sign KJ Britt, but it is a C+ grade because of his poor pass coverage ability. Afadu Melifanu, C+. And it's only a C+ because, again, always injured. He has all the talent in the world. He has a ton of physical gifts, former 3rd-round pick. He just can't stay healthy, which is why it's a C+ grade. If he can give Miami 14 or 15 games, this is going to be a great signing. This might be the best signing of the offseason. But if he only gives Miami 5 or 6 games, then this signing is absolutely awful. He has the potential to be the best signing, like I said. At the time of this writing, of course, if they make some other signings, who knows? But at the time of this recording, I should say, not writing, there's a chance he might be the best signing here because I could see him being a starter for Miami in the secondary at safety, but he has to stay healthy. There is just so much risk here because of his past 2 stints on IR last year alone. 2, not 1, 2. There's so much risk. That's why he gets a C+ grade. Ashton Davis gets a C. Total depth piece at safety. Someone who should not be a starter, and I pray he's not a starter. When, as I've said on the shows this week, when you reach out to a Jets beat reporter and the response about Ashton Davis is LMAO, good luck. That tells you all you need to know. I know Miami secondary is depleted at the moment, but this is a streaky player who has some stretches where he plays good, but also long stretches where he plays very bad and gets lost in coverage and gives up big plays. He's going to drive Dolphins fans nuts this season. Because of that alone, there's just no consistency to his game. This gets a C. Quentin Bell, this gets a C as well. Because of the injuries to Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips, this is a smart re-signing. Just last year when he had opportunities to play, he was invisible for the most part in the regular season. He's going to need to make more plays and make more out of his playing time this year when he gets on the field. So solid signing, good guy to keep, but really he was just so invisible last year when they had no Chubb. Jalen Phillips missed most of the season. Agba is old. He had chances to play, he just never took advantage of it. That's why it's a C. And the last one is Elijah Campbell, also giving him a C. And I'm lower on Campbell than most. I know a lot of people are much more excited about Elijah Campbell. I am lower on him than most. Just like with Zach Wilson, I'm higher on the Zach Wilson side than most people. I'm lower on Elijah Campbell than most people. He's a solid special teams player, but he's a really bad safety. And I'm going to be nice and factor in that he's a real big contributor on special teams. So that's why I am going to give him a C grade, but the play at safety has just not been good at all. Just watch the tape, folks. Watch the tape. So I'm giving him a C, so I gave out here in the grades, I gave out a B, C minus. So no A's. Nobody got an A. I gave out a B, C minus, F, B plus, C, C plus, C, B, C plus, C plus, C, C, C. And the overall grade is a C. And why it's a C and not higher is, honestly, James Daniels is a starter if he's healthy. Not one of the other signings is someone you want to start. Now, I think one of the safeties, probably Malafanu, is probably going to start, but he's not someone you want to start. So I have to factor in, they've made a lot of signings, but they haven't signed anyone who's going to come in and start and help this team win games. They signed a lot of guys. They've pretty much turned over the bottom of the roster. And there's nothing wrong with that. You need to turn over the bottom of your roster. But who's going to come in here and make an immediate impact? Nick Westbrook, Akinyu got the highest grade. He might, but he's a third wide receiver. He's not someone who's going to start. So I got to factor that in. He's not a starter. But really, James Daniels, who's coming off a major injury, and we hope he'll be ready by the start of the season. Last year we assumed, Chubb will be back like October, November. No, he never came back. So we're hoping James Daniels is going to be ready to play to start the season. I know what they say, but they've lied to us before. When they re-signed Isaiah Wynn, don't worry, he'll be ready. He pretty much missed the first 12 games of the year. So I can't take them at their word. I can't give them the benefit of the doubt when it comes to this stuff. But really, outside of James Daniels, they didn't sign anyone else who starts. Like, if Liam Eichenberg actually starts this year, then, that's all you need to know. They signed a third-string tight end in Pharaoh Brown. Zach Wilson's a backup quarterback. Alexander Madison, in a perfect world, is a number 3 running back. At best, he's a number 2. Tyrell Dotson shouldn't be starting. The fact he might is kind of scary. KJ Britt, he can't play pass coverage. No way he should start. He should be coming off the bench. Ashton Davis, not a starter. Campbell, Bell, not starter. So I give it a C. It's not necessarily a bad free agency. Again, for the money they have, which not much, this is how they were going to do it this year. Cameron Wolf said it. He said it's going to be the same blueprint as last year, where they just don't spend money. And that's what they're doing again this year. And today, one other bit of news I probably should have mentioned. Today's March 14th. And when the clock struck midnight and it became March 14th on the East Coast, let me say that again. Tua Tagovailoa's contract, fully guaranteed $54 million for 2026. So that became official today. So they didn't restructure his contract prior to today. It would make 0 sense to restructure it now, but this is the Miami Dolphins, and nothing would surprise me. But as of midnight, last night, really, his contract now, they guaranteed $54 million for 2026. So Tua, they didn't touch the contract. As long as they don't touch it, they can still move on from him after this upcoming season, should they want to, if he has more injuries, if he still can't beat teams that are good, if he still struggles in big games, whatever, they can still move on from him after this year. The minute they restructure it, which if they haven't done it yet, I don't think they will. I'm just holding out hope. That changes that. You still can move on from it. Just makes it a hell of a lot harder with your salary cap, and I don't know why you'd want to do that to yourself. But yeah, that was the other big news item today. So yeah, I give them a C. Like I said, I don't think they're done, but I also think the signings they're going to be making the rest of the way, they're going to be these one-year deals like Pharaoh Brown, Alexander Madison, Larry Borum, and like guys. Yeah, they're guys. They're new faces. There's a role for them coming off the bench, but not guys that are going to move the needle. The minute they restructure Jordan Brooks, then a big signing might be coming. Now, there's still a few offensive guards out there that are worth signing. They don't have the money at this moment, but there's still guys worth signing. There's a couple safeties worth signing. There's a couple corners worth signing. But I think I saw it's not official. They got like 10 million left. And they have 10 draft picks. That was the other news item, too. The NFL took away a draft pick from Miami. So they gave us 4 compensatory picks. They made a mistake, and they caught it today. Should have only been 3. So they have 10 picks, now 11. Now, I can't be up in arms because the pick they took away was like the second to last pick from the draft. It was the last compensatory pick like number 254 or something. It was supposed to go to the Saints, and it is now with the Saints, but they took away a pick. Again, I'm not worried because Miami couldn't afford to pay 11 rookies anyways. So they're probably going to trade a pick or 2 off either till next year or to move up this year. So they took one away, but it's not the end of the world. Like I said, it was picked like 254. It stinks, but in all the things I can be upset about, that's really not one of them. But it's going to take about $10 million to sign their rookie class. So when you factor, they only got 10 million left. They really have no money to spend on anyone. So the minute they restructure Jordan Brooks, that's when you know there's probably going to be a signing coming. The minute they restructure Zach Sealer, that's when you know there's probably going to be a signing coming. The minute they either cut Jake Bailey or Alec Ingold, that's when you know there's probably going to be a signing coming. They're going to have to probably make a move. They don't have to make the move now because they can spend the $10 million now, but they're going to have to get more cap space eventually to pay their rookie class with all these picks. So we'll keep an eye on that moving forward here over the weekend. We'll see if there's any signings over the weekend. I'll probably be on with the show. If not, we got stuff planned for Monday and Tuesday. So I'll talk to you then. But really, when news breaks, we'll have a show. And he's signing at least one guy a day. So I expect probably one signing over the weekend. We will see. Everyone, thank you for listening. As I said, if you're watching on YouTube, smash the like button, smash it, and also subscribe to the channel. Wherever you're listening to the podcast, subscribe to the podcast on whichever platform you're listening on. And if you're watching on YouTube as well, put up a comment. Tell me if you think I'm right, if you think I'm wrong. I will try to respond to all the comments as best I can. Check out the website, DolphinsTalk.com. We have a ton of new articles up. We have all the podcasts from this week, myself with Ian Berger, myself with Dougley Durong, myself with Tom. You don't want to miss those shows. I did a solo show Monday with all the Monday signings. You don't want to miss those shows. Check them out. If you didn't listen to them, you can hear my thoughts and who's ever with me on all the signings when they happen. And like I said, I got a ton of articles up on the website from Tyler, from Ryan Van Hoover, from Carlos, from Rafi. Jamie put one up and I'm sure I'm leaving guys. Bob put up one. So we got a ton of new articles as well. Check them out. Everyone, have a great Friday night. Have a great Saturday. We'll talk to you again after a while. And folks, as always, don't forget, we must put an end to highway profanity.